Keeping everybody safe as your child returns to early education and childcare in Bolton. Early education and childcare providers are looking forward to welcoming families and children back as the COVID-19 lockdown is relaxed. They just wanted to make you aware that they've had to make some changes to ensure that everybody is kept safe. Many early years providers have been open during the COVID-19 lockdown for key worker children and vulnerable children, but many of them now have had to plan against the government's guidance that's been updated, ready for the opening for more children from the 1st of June. They've had to look at any risks that could be associated to running during this time, so they've carried out some risk assessments, and they may have had to make changes to their environment or the way that they're going to work. They will adopt updated policies, and they may want to share some of these so you have an understanding of how they're going to operate during this time. Many staff have had to have training on new working practices and to ensure that they have an awareness of COVID-19. Providers have had to decide how they approach safe group sizes and how they rota their staff in so that there's very little change of staff and very little change of children. Some of them are referring to those children as being in bubbles or in friendship groups. They've looked at the extra precautions that they need to take to ensure that everybody's kept safe. Now, we know that every provider will be different because it depends on their building, the way that they operate the services on offer. Before your child returns to nursery, it may be worth your while to be able to have a chat with your provider. You need to be able to understand what your needs are going to be when you need to return to work. With all the changes that the providers are having to make to meet the government's guidance, they may not be able to offer you the extended hours that you had previously. So once you've spoken to the provider, you'll also need to speak to your employer to see what flexibility they can offer you to help meet your childcare needs. Once you discuss with your provider what your needs are, they'll be able to tell you whether they can or can't offer what it is that you need. You'll need to understand whether they've made any changes around the food and meals, or there's any particular ask around clothing that you'll need to bring in for your child. Some settings are asking for outdoor shoes and ensuring that children are wearing indoor shoes. They may want to discuss the start date with you and also your start times. To try and avoid large groups of people and to maintain social distancing, some providers are giving staggered start times, so it's important that you understand what time you're going to drop off and collect your child. You'll also need to understand the early education funding that you may be able to claim or that you've been entitled to during this period and how that's going to work. There may be costs associated to the provision, so you'll need to talk through that with your providers. Providers will try to be flexible, but they may have to work in a different way to ensure that everybody's kept safe. If when you've had discussion with your childcare provider, it's clear that they can't accommodate your needs and you're finding it tricky to find any alternatives, you can contact Family Information Service in Bolton. If you call this number 01 204 337220, someone will be able to give you the details of other providers who may be able to help. When it's time to return, things may look slightly different as your provider will have had to make changes to keep everybody safe. There may be some notable changes when you arrive at your early education provision. Some of the staff may have changed their clothes after they've arrived at the setting, and you may be asked to meet a member of staff outside rather than taking your child into nursery as you usually used to do. This is to limit the number of people entering the building, to adhere to social distancing and to keep people safe. All children and staff will be asked to wash their hands when they enter the building, and they'll continue to do that throughout the day. Good hygiene practices like washing hands are essential to keeping everybody safe. You may notice, or your child might, that some resources or toys aren't being used at the moment, but there'll still be plenty for them to do and to keep them occupied. So what to expect when your child returns to their early education place? Children will still continue to receive quality early education places, they'll have fun and they'll be with their friends. Staff and children will be in a constant group as far as possible. There may be some staff who, due to their shift patterns, that they need to swap over, but wherever possible, these friendship groups or bubbles will remain the same. Everybody will be washing their hands frequently, and all the areas and the equipment are going to be kept clean throughout the day. The settings won't need to use personal protective equipment, as it's not recommended in early education and childcare settings, only if somebody who's taken ill. A member of staff who's supporting a child's intimate care needs will continue to wear the protective equipment they have previously, that may be gloves or an apron. So when your child leaves for the day, you may be again met by a member of staff outside, and your child will be brought to you outside the building. Staff will make sure at the end of each session that all the equipment is thoroughly cleaned and it's ready for the next day or the children who are coming to the next session. It's really important that you speak to your settings to understand what changes there'll be to your normal nursery day. Communication is going to be really important, and your provider will be keeping in touch with you. They need to follow the social distancing guidance, and it may be different to what you're used to, and more contact might need to happen from the phone or video calls or in writing or emails. But providers will ensure that parents know what to expect and when. If you or your child or anybody in your household is feeling unwell with corona type symptoms, it's important that you don't take your child to an early education or childcare setting. You must follow the government's self-isolation guidance and also seek a coronavirus test. Details of where you can access a test are on this slide. Adults can access the website that would take you to the University of Bolton Stadium, and on the website you can book your visit for a test there. For children under the age of 5, you need to speak to your GP or contact the NHS on 111. Early education and childcare services that are offered will have changed, but providers will still be delivering high quality early education for you and your children. Some providers, such as wraparound and out of school providers, aren't able to work at the moment. The government guidance has been clear that wraparound can only be delivered on school sites. So we recognise that for many working parents, the extended childcare day that they've been used to may not be available. Thank you for watching and listening to the Early Education and Childcare Update in Bolton. Please follow the hashtag #HereForYouBolton on Twitter or Facebook, or the hashtag ProudToBeEarlyYearsBolton.